Hey there! Welcome to APVA's member-centered event. Hang out with us today as we chat with members of the community, addressing the challenges of the typical African creative.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Gracie, and everyone right here on this Twitter space this beautiful evening. I think we call it X space now, not Twitter space. But in any case, I'm happy to be here, and I just want to be sure that you guys can hear me. So, Gracie, since your mic is open, which is APVA, oh great! I think the emoji does it for me already. I see folks joining and I'm excited about it already. Check Edgar. Nice to see you, Edgar. And Vavan. Nice to see you. Gladys. Welcome. Emmanuel. I be Emmanuel as well. So it's good to see a namesake, on this Twitter space. Oh, X space. Pardon me. Anyways, once Twitter, forever Twitter. So, guys, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to have you all here. Today is another day for us to, come together and have conversations that are profitable to creatives, audio creatives specifically. So, I can't wait to share the space with some amazing, fabulous talents. I mean, these folks, they are good at what they do. Some of them they're award winners and excellent in their field. These are spoken word artists, poets, and they have excelled in this from Zambia. And, we here, me, I am here in Nigeria, and we're connecting because it is APVA, the African Association of Podcasters and Voice Over Artists, also including podcast spoken word artists. So we're all here to talk about branding, marketing as a spoken word artist, and I'm sure that poets will really need this. Okay, so if you know anybody that is in this field, a poet or spoken word artist, this is the space for them. This is a safe space. I'll be happy to see you talk about the things you need to talk about when it comes to branding and marketing. These are not things that are really spoken about for spoken word artists, right? So I'm very excited to want to hear about it. Before I go any further, I'll introduce myself, and hopefully, before I am done, some of our guests will join and then we get into the conversation. Oh, yeah, one of them is here already, so I can't wait to bring her up. But yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Tolulope Kolade. But yeah, call me T Code. I'm a voiceover artist. I'm a podcaster. I'm a voiceover coach. I'm the host of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective. And I am also the creative partner at APVA. So, yep, that's who I am. And I'm the host of today's conversation. So, that's who I am, and I'm happy to see you all. I would have said everybody introduce yourself, but I'm the only one with the mic right now, so it is what it is, guys. Joining me tonight, it's night here. It's 7 p.m. in Nigeria. I don't know what it is in Zambia, but one of our guests, is from Zambia. She's a co-founder and the country director at Word Smash Poetry, a spoken word artist, a youth leader, a content creator, an artist, and an activist. It's my pleasure, guys, to bring to you Vanessa Chisakula, also known as Van Van, I believe. Hi, Vanessa. Please pass Vanessa the mic. Vanessa, kindly request the mic so that I can, you know, have you here. Hi, hi.
T-Code, am I audible?
Hi, Vanessa. Yes, you are.
Okay.
I guess Tico might be having some network issues, but she's going to join back immediately. Hi, everyone. You're welcome. We have started. So thank you for joining us. Tico will join in back again.
Hi guys. My apologies. I thought I was speaking. I mean, I was actually speaking literally until I heard Gracie said, I don't know, but Tico is going to join us. So I realized I wasn't here. I'm sorry, guys. So we're back. We're back. Vanessa, good evening. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you, T Code. I'm
Amazing.
currently not in Zambia, so it's an afternoon for me.
Ooh, where are you
Yeah.
right now?
I'm in the US and it's currently 12 in the afternoons.
Wow, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can have Penboy join us real soon, all the way from Cameroon. He's
Mhm.
also a fantastic spoken word artist, and he's been doing this for quite a while. He's gotten nominated for several APVA awards over the years, and he has also won a couple of them, like
Mhm.
Spoken Word Artists of the Year, his best spoken word video, and a couple. So hopefully he joins us soon. But it's such an honor to have the both of you here, talk to us about branding and marketing for spoken word artists. So before we really dig deeper into branding and marketing, I'd like for you to give us a bit of your story. How did you get into spoken word, poetry, and everything that you also now do as a result of this talents that you have built over the years?
Okay. Um, so I think for me, how I started, like, ish, my God, it now feels funny to even say how I started. I think a few years back, I was just saying, oh, I just started recently. But now it feels like I've been going at this for a while. I've always been drawn to the power of words. Words can heal, inspire, ignite change, and I always just go back to the biblical reference of how the power of life and death lies in the tongue. So for me, words have always just been one powerful force that has been very amazing. Like from the time I was only reading, excuse me, before I started writing, I used to wonder what people think when they're coming up with whatever pieces of writings that they come up with because I started reading. I think I remember one of the first books that I ever got exposed to was my book of Bible stories. I don't know if you ever came across the one which had I think that's a golden cover with some orange or maroon writings. I can't remember very well, but it was quite a famous book when I was growing up. And so that's one of the books that I got to read. And since it was pictorial, it was fascinating enough. And then I started with the fairy tales and everything else. So I think reading, being a very fundamental part of my journey, drew me to what art is all about. And then when I grew up, I think I wanted to just express myself in a way that felt raw and unfiltered, and poetry became that thing. Though it wasn't my first love, because I really just wanted to act, and then the opportunities in that lane seemed to be few, and so poetry became the like my refuge. And one thing just led to another. I met community. I accidentally put out something, people liked it, and then I think I just found myself. So the mix of personal experiences, social injustices, a deep love for rhythm, for language, everything just came together. I hope Tico
Well,
is not off.
yeah, yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. And I would say that's a very interesting story right there. From something that is just a passion. I could relate with your experience reading Book of Bible Story. For me, it inspired me to be an artist. Like I draw. I used to draw very well back then. I still do, but not so much. But in your own case, you wanted to get more curious about the art of speaking, and that led you to spoken words. Now, it was until the past couple of years, like 4, 5 years ago, that I personally started paying attention to spoken word. And that is to say that spoken word is not, it's more like a niche of art, or an art form that isn't as popular as you would say podcasting or acting. Like you said, acting was your first passion, right? But until lately, we started getting fascinated by the art of spoken word and all of that. I I
Mm.
I'm always curious to understand at what point do people decide to call themselves spoken word artist and own it and then pursue it as something that they really want to be known for, because I feel like these are the developmental stages of what would later become branding and marketing. There has to be that recognition of the talent in a niche that is not so popular as such, or you don't have a lot of people doing it, or maybe it's not generating income like you'd have the big arts.
Mm-hmm.
What drove you to that point where you were bold enough to wear the tag "I'm a spoken word artist" and then pursue it to the point of branding and marketing? So we talk about that later. Yeah.
Oh, I actually muted myself thinking I'm unmuting.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, go on.
Um, so firstly, of course, it starts as a hobby for everybody else. We're just like, oh, I like doing this and I like doing that. And I think as you go, you will have to realize that we're in the times that we're living in, our talents are almost equaling the people that are carrying white collar jobs, those who sit in the offices every day. So the passion at a certain point has to be converted to a paycheck if you decide that you want to chase it in that direction. So of course it starts with putting your house in order. You would have to say, okay, am I still going to pursue this as a hobby, or I am going to package it, because packaging is everything. And I wouldn't want to really preempt and talk about the branding part first, because I just want to say, for me, when it struck my attention to realize that this is something that can actually pay me, was through the networks that I have built over the years.
Mm,
So I met somebody who took me under their wings and mentored me and taught me that, oh, it can go beyond it this just being a hobby. It can actually pay you. At first I thought it was a bit impossible. I thought it only happens in the Americas, or maybe Europe or UK or something. I didn't know that even just in your home
mm,
country in Africa, you can make money off it. So I had to sit under mentorship. I had to understand, oh, this is how it happened. And then I started to immerse myself from the perspective of not only practicing it as a hobby, but becoming serious. Because if you do not take it seriously, it will not pay you. I think
mm,
you mentioned that it is not one that is as lucrative at this point, especially in Africa, because in the days that I was starting, I remember fighting for very little money just to be
mm.
paid, because every time you walk into an office a person would ask you to justify, why are we paying you? And so I really had to learn how to answer that question as justifiably as possible, until I got to a point now you can't talk to me before we actually even talk money. You know that you have to come to me, and you know that money is part of a conversation. And that, I know that I have reached at that stage. So even as we are talking, I know that you're paying me. You know deep down your heart that you're paying me. But it didn't start like this. At a certain point, it was
Mm.
justifications and
Okay, I seem to be losing Vanessa. I don't know if it's my network, but I was enjoying what she was saying.
okay.
Um, Vanessa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can clearly. Can you hear me?
If anybody can hear me, kindly drop an emoji. Or can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Can be scary sometimes, yeah. But this was quite inspiring to hear. And I don't know. I hope that Vanessa is still here because although I see you, but you're not speaking. So in any case, thank you for sharing that. And I am so wanting to listen to all that you learned. You know, you talked about how you began to realize that this is something that can pay you, and at some point you just have to own it, and then you got under tutelage. So that's something I really want to understand. What were you taught? How were you, schooled to present yourself and package yourself? So let's start with the branding part of it, and then we talk about the marketing part of it, because people a lot of times mix the both of them. But how did you build a brand as a spoken word artist? What were the things that you did?
Branding and marketing. Oh my God.
Over to you, Vanessa.
Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me, T Code? Can somebody hear me? Give me a heart.
Okay, so I
Yes,
can't hear
yes,
Vanessa.
I hear you.
Okay, cool.
Gracie, if you're here, can you please confirm that it's me, or I mean, I just want to be sure that Vanessa is speaking so I could rejoin. I'm seeing the emojis, but they're not saying anything.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So I
Hi,
don't know
Tolu.
if the
Can you hear
emoji
me?
means, oh, we can hear you, T Code, and we can hear Vanessa, or it just means, T Code, we can hear you only. I can't even hear anybody. Okay, you know what, guys? I'm just going to like exit and join again. I apologize for all of this. It's some technical glitch that I can't explain, but I'll be back. I'll be back.
Gracie, should I do the same?
I don't know what's happening. I guess it's just network. So sorry, everyone. We will sort this out immediately. Vanessa, I don't think you need to join again since I can hear you. I think it's from Tico's
I'm
side.
back.
Hi, Tico. Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you now. Back like I never left.
Hallelujah. Okay.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening tonight, but yeah, we're gonna get through this. So, Vanessa, now to you. Please go
Yes.
on. Yeah.
Okay, so branding and marketing usually gets mixed up, and the key differences are very thin lines. Like when you start to talk about the two and delve deep into them, because you will realize that marketing is promoting and branding is definition. So for me, the easiest way I talk about branding is storytelling. This is my story, and this is me. This is what you expect to see from me. So whenever you're buying into my brand, you know that these are the things that we're expecting. This is how we expect Vanessa to come uh, and present herself. This is how we expect her to speak. This is her voice. This is her personality. That's the experience and also the perception of the clients that are getting involved with you. And then marketing is simply putting yourself out there. So for me, um, if I go back into my brand and I just get to talk about Vanessa, I am rooted in authenticity. I am rooted in activism and in storytelling. And how this developed, I think one of the lessons that I was taught is to be very intentional about my message. And my message of being authentic, of being a black girl, and also talking about the issues that people are uncomfortable talking about, the activism part of me, I ensure that I carry them to every performance or every piece. It has to align. Those are my core values. And so, what is common, what you're going to pick in things that you will get from me, I talk a lot about justice, I talk about empowerment, I talk about transformation of the African mind, of the African person. I delve into politics because they come close to where I live. I am affected. Politics is personal. The personal is political, and so I. You will hear me talk challenging systems. You will hear me talk about uplifting voices. You hear me talk about inspiring people. And one key lesson that I am glad I learned early was spoken word artistry is not rooted in aesthetics. It's a whole world of consistency and purpose. And what matters is how you make people feel when they engage with your work. And T code, I can tell you that this is a true and trusted theory, because time and time again, I go back to initiate conversations of pieces I did 5 years ago. And I hear people say, oh, when I heard this the first time and I hear it now, I can still feel what, and then I have it has really stayed true to itself that this in this spoken word business, it really isn't about the aesthetics. It's about the feelings. How consistent have you been with your purpose, walking true to yourself, and of course disseminating that message to the public.
This is so profound. One thing I've learned from what you've said so far, if I would summarize, is branding is who you are and marketing is what you do. Branding is your authenticity, is everything that makes you you. And you also mentioned how you learned early enough that spoken word is not about the aesthetics per se, but rather the consistency. So I love the way the conversation is going. And by the way, if you're just joining, welcome to Hang Out with APVA. We're talking about branding and marketing as a spoken word artist. And we have Vanessa Chisakula here. She's currently in the US, but she's from Zambia, and she's talking to us about branding and marketing as a spoken word artist. Such an amazing spoken word artist, by the way. And now, from what you've said about, who you are, your authenticity, which is your brand, can you tell us more about how to project that into the world? Because I want to believe that that then crosses into marketing yourself. It's one thing to be who you are, it's another thing to know how to project that to the world in such a way that they understand where you stand. I put it this way: there are people who might be spoken word artists, but how do you make people aware that this is not just a talent, but it's a service? There are two things, right? I'm just imagining that there's a spoken word artist out there that just puts content, but it's not proposed in such a way that one can say, oh, this is a means of livelihood per se. So I'd like to, pick on your thoughts, on the things that I just said. How do you project that brand in the marketing sphere?
Okay, so now you have packaged your brand, and so now you are going to start marketing that brand that you have packaged. And when we talk about marketing yourself, or talking about putting yourself out there, and nowadays we are leveraging on the power of social media, and poets are now, those who are killing the stage are also doing pages as well. They're writing books, chapbooks, full length, and everything else. But people are just like now trying to dig on the money side of it. So how do you project it to the real world for them to understand that this is just not a hobby, and this is just not me being a poet, but this is a service? I'm coming to offer a service. Then you need to have a lot of clarity, or with whomever you're dealing with at the table at that moment. And consistency will also come in, because you are not a spoken word poet today, you are doing this, then you go back home and sleep and come back next year. You will really have to be consistent for us to understand that you are at this and you mean business. And then also it goes for strategic engagements. So for me, at home, I attend a lot of different events. Sometimes I am not performing. I'm just there to interact, to network, to see what is going down. And then I see when I can pitch in a conversation and say, oh, I do this on the side. But for those that know me, of course, I won't start with I do this from the side part of a conversation. I'll start from, oh, do you know that in my doing this, I can actually do this for you too? So how are you strategically engaging with people that you know can actually help you scale up? Potential clients are usually in your audience. They're usually at a cocktail. They're at the supermarket. Like, it's people you don't even realize are going to buy in. but they are your potential clients. So as you are strategically engaging, just know where you're going and the people that you expect to meet, but be very clear and also be consistent, because you have to clearly articulate that this is just beyond performing, or they'll hire you as a hobby. And this is when they think they're doing you a favor. So they'll call you and say, oh, we'll give you exposure, or we'll give you 10 minutes of our time. And that's a big platform. If I wanted a platform, I would have asked for it. But for now, like, I'm working. So give me my money. And be very intentional about creating emotional connections. In spoken word, we cannot strictly treat it as a business. That's also something that's funny. It's not like marketing a film or marketing a song. Here people really just have to buy into it. So you use your storytelling to create a serious emotional connection. Be, as you are be utilizing those public platforms, you're sharing your journey, your struggles, your victories, with what resonates with everybody else, so that even when they're buying in, they can want to buy in, because this is not the easiest thing to market. I am telling you. So I have to just package your brand and then package it as a service. You know what brand you're selling. Then now start selling it as a service. I provide
Wow.
spoken word performances for ABCD, not I do this as a hobby because I like it. It won't work.
Mm. I think that's a very beautiful one. The way you said it, like I provide this as a service, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
important because especially people in the corporate world often they don't understand the reality of the creatives, right? They just feel like, oh, these are just some bunch of people who are very talented and they just do it for a hobby and just have fun. So why should they get paid this amount for doing this and all
Yeah.
of that? So I really love how you put it there. So I'm gonna run through the things you've said. Like I took notes, but just before I do that, I've been informed that Pen Boy is around. I am
Oh,
not seeing
yay.
him. Yeah, but I don't know why I can't see him. But in case you can hear me and see me, or rather see my my account and all of us here, kindly request for the mic pen boy so we can have you join the conversation. It's been an amazing one already with Vanessa, and we can't wait to hear what you've got for us. So Vanessa just told us, she shared a few tips. Like some people go into book publishing, which I think that's also a creative, you know, way to put yourself out there because literally as spoken word artists you guys speak and it's a combination of poetry and emotional expression and passing a message, so having it in a written format too is really cool. And then consistency also helps, but then you mentioned strategic events, which also means networking, like going to strategic events and then being intentional and creating emotional connection. I think all of this are golden advice that you can give anyone looking to market themselves as spoken word artists. And I'll also add to that if you're really good at what you do, it's easier to market. Like it's easy to market a very good product compared to a product that you need to convince everybody over and over and over again. If the performance wasn't good, I mean, I don't think people are going to want to come for it again. So being good at what you do is golden. Like I think it's also very very key. So now I have a question for you. You've told us about the tips that you can share and all of that. Now I like it. Tell us a story, if you can remember any success story or testimonials from your own personal experience with personal branding as a spoken word artist. Like, remember, try to recall something happened, you met someone somewhere, or this was what you did at some point in your career that just put you in this state and, help your marketing and all of that. So, Vanessa, try to remember and tell us a story. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi. I'm just trying to remember which success story I love the most.
Okay.
Uh, um, wow. Okay, for me, I think the stages that have been huge have been great, but I think my favorite experiences really are the days of when I was starting out, because the drive, the hunger was different. And then I didn't know who's sitting in. Like what we used to do at Word Smash, what still happens even now. We would like have a show every month, and so we would just set up and then we start what we're doing. Then we wouldn't know who's walking in. And so for me, those days are very precious because as an artist, and I think any artist, whatever art form, whatever genre, they can actually testify to saying those days you're so hungry and you're doing it because your rent is due and you're doing it because you love it and you want somebody to see it. So I remember when I did Enemy Within, we had a pop-up show. We had invited our friends from Botswana. We invited Pusetso Lame, Dr. Pusetso from Botswana, and we brought in Pan from Zimbabwe. And they said, okay, guys, you guys, since you're in Zambia, let's make this happen. I remember that one was a key moment for me because we had guests. And so we're like, let's make this memorable. And that's where Enemy Within was born. We just did it because we're so excited, and boom, we did it. And in a space of 1 week, that was 2019, we had in Zambia, we didn't have that. We never used to see viral poetry videos. And so in the space of 1 week, Enemy Within was seen on Facebook by 2 million people. For me, that was crazy. And on most platforms they were talking about it. It came on X, it came on Black Twitter, it came on Man's Not Barilu account. He's the one who spoke about it from South Africa. And just the debating of people. I remember some people from Ghana were saying I'm from Ghana, people from Uganda were saying I'm from Uganda, and not many people could actually associate me to Zambia. So following those conversations and then seeing that people now started to come and take me seriously and want to book me, I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. So for me, that was a turnaround moment. It didn't happen in a big space. It happened in a very small room. That day, actually, they had in the venue which we used to use, they took the big space from us and they told us, you're going to go upstairs and squeeze. We really squeezed. If you watch the video, there's somebody who passed while they were shooting because we didn't even have space. And then to see it blow up in such a manner, it for me, it will forever be a cherished moment because it is what took me to most places to perform in front of my president, our former vice president, the current vice president, to perform in all the way Europe, other countries in Africa. It's Enemy Within. That's where the whole story started. So it was a very special moment. I think for me, that's my favorite success story.
Wow. Wow, this is so inspiring. Thank you for sharing, Vanessa. Thank you so, so much. I'm learning a lot already. I'm taking notes. Do not despise the days of little beginnings, right? And not giving up.
No, do not.
Yeah, such an interesting story. So, before I ask you the next question, I'd also want to mention that if anyone here has questions or contributions to this topic about marketing and branding as a spoken word artist, you're welcome. Please just you can type it in the comment, or you could, yeah, you could actually type it. So we'll take it. Yeah. Now the question I want to ask, I hope I don't forget this question because already my mind is racing. Um, but yeah, you talked about starting, years ago doing word marsh, the word marsh poetry movement, which I believe is about, say, 7 years now. Tell us about that as well, and what led you to creating that, because I also want to believe that it's now with the story you just told, I see how significant it was in, and it still is, in marketing what you do as a spoken word artist, right? So tell us about how that started for you, and what's happening with word smash poetry movement right now.
Okay. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the book Outliers. It's one of my favorite reads ever. I have watched series multiple times, but Outliers is the only book I've actually read 3 times because I like it. Please, if you haven't read that book, read it. It's so beautiful. So when you read Outliers, the second chapter talks about putting in work, and that's where I got to learn about the law of 10,000 hours. I don't know if you've come across that, where you have to practice something for 10,000 hours for you to be good at it. And in layman's language, the 10,000 hours are simply your experience. So anything tickled your podcasting journey up to your 10,000 hours, you are not yet a master of masters. You could have mastered it, but your 10,000 will put you in the lane of mastery. And you know that even the Bible talks about lawful mastering, like when you have to master something, you do it lawfully. So the principle of 10,000 hours comes from there as well. And how Word Smash comes into that story is because for me, Word Smash provided my 10,000. I might not have reached 10,000, but that was where my experience came from. That's where I did a lot of work. I put in a lot of work because every show, we used to go back and write. We'd go back to the writing board, come up with new pieces, and launch them that side. And so I did a lot of experimenting, work which could work with people, which could get criticism and everything. For those who do not know, Word Smash Poetry Movement is a dynamic and influential creative free expression movement. It spans across Southern Africa, and it serves as a platform for spoken word artists, creatives of different nature, who we give a platform to voice their stories, their activism, and also find community. And this was born because we found that this was missing. We could not find a place that could allow young people be as loud, be as vibrant, be as different as they could be. And so since we saw a gap, we decided to bring it up, and it did not only feed us, it fed the 5,000. Whoever it is that was looking for a place where they could come and do that, they came and they found it. And so it's founded on live performances and events. Like I said, there's a show every month, and there's also workshops and mentorships, and the advocacy and activism part, and also cross-border collaborations. We've been able to collaborate with countries like Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, just across the Southern African region, South Africa, and we are hoping to cross borders to actually go more places, West Africa, East Africa as well. And so this has become more than a poetry platform, TCOD, at this moment. Art and activism meets here. And we, in our small contribution, have helped empower young voices. We've sparked critical conversations. We've created opportunities for the thriving of artists.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is so inspiring, especially the story about the 10,000 hours. I think that's the power of community as well. And it's something I would encourage every creative out there, because even as creatives, our work can be very, you're just in silos, you're doing your thing, probably you're even just alone, but being with other people. I recall communities that helped me grow, like APVA. We have our community virtually on WhatsApp, on Telegram, and we have our social media accounts where we try as much as possible to keep people updated. These communities help you, and but in this case, right, it was for you. a ground for you to express your creativity, your spoken word artistry, until the point where you found yourself being, or you became a master, if we put it that way, and it's quite inspiring. Yeah, and I mean, take your
I don't know if
flowers.
I'm a master yet. I'm still learning.
Take your flowers. Come on.
Thank you.
I
I smell
mean,
them.
yeah. But by the way, Vivian has a question for you. And for those who's wondering, Vivian is also here on the Twitter space, X space. She's an award-winning spoken word artist. So Vivian's question is that, are you constantly writing new poetry for any events you are invited to perform, or you perform your already written poetry like music? Okay, good question. So your turn.
Sorry, Vivian, I'm not laughing at you, but the way you said like music. I once went on a radio interview and I told the DJ, I don't know why they don't pay poets because DJs, you go and play other people's music and we write new work. And the DJ, I think his jaw dropped for a minute. So, okay, for me, it really depends. At this point, I really treat clients special. I take work very seriously. And I love to tell, rather to echo their stories. So when people tell me what they want, I do what they want. I I have written a little bit here and there in my short career as a spoken word artist. So there's always something to refer back to draw inspiration from. But depending on a client, I create new stories because I want a different experience. And with these things anyway, it just comes with a brief, you know. The brief is going to tell you what they're expecting, and most of the times it will be a new story. You can factor in some old things, but it will mostly be a new story. And also, I don't know, Vivian, if you can, I don't know if you experience this, if that's how you treat your bookings as well. But there are certain events which are, they don't expect you to go the extra mile. So you can always bring something from the old times, especially if it still echoes the current times. But it all comes down to depending on who's the client and also how serious you take your work. I will mostly bring up a new baby at these times.
Nice, 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 nice. I like the way you approached the answer or the question, because again, like someone said, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So an artist, someone
Mhm.
also said that artists are just very gifted when it comes to stealing. They know how to steal other
Exactly.
people's
We call
work.
it inspiration.
Oh
You call
yeah,
it
it is.
inspiration. We steal and
Yeah.
I was inspired. Okay, you stole.
Oh my. Interesting. All right. So while you were answering that question, another question came in, and
Mhm.
I think we're just gonna take. Wow, Emmanuel has a couple of questions. Interesting. He has three questions already.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think probably I should just read the three of them so you can answer them all at once, because of time. So the first one says by from Emmanuel: are there specific platforms or formats, for instance, short videos, live performances, that offer the best spoken word marketing? Two, what are some creative ways to monetize spoken word? Maybe even a podcast with strong spoken word and storytelling elements. Three, what marketing strategies would you recommend for promoting a podcast that blends spoken word storytelling and cultural discussions? These are amazing questions. So, it's your turn to respond, Vanessa. And by the way, you can check the comments. You'll find the questions there just in case you're trying to remember the three of them. Hi, Vanessa. Are you there?
Oh, I'm muted.
No,
I don't know
no,
why I
you're
can't.
muted.
I don't know why I can't see the comments, but I really would. Yeah, would want to be reading them because they're
Okay. If you need to remember anyone, I'll read it for you.
okay. So the specific platforms one was specific platforms or formats that are what? Just walk me through again.
So, are there specific platforms or formats, for instance, videos, short
Mm-hmm.
videos, live performances that offer the best spoken word marketing?
Okay, so I'm trying to think. He's asking the ones that market that do well when it comes to when it is being used as a marketing strategy. I hope I'm correct.
I guess so.
Um, there are no rules to this thing. That's the first thing that I can say. But one thing that I have seen, I think, when it comes to platforms, it just depends. Especially if you're going to use social media, it depends with which region of the world you're in. Uh, because if you're trying to market your poetry on Facebook in for example, in America or maybe the UK, you will not gain as much traction. So everybody is on TikTok or Instagram. But when you go at my home here in Zambia, if I have to market and focus on a social media platform such as Instagram or TikTok, I am talking to a few people, especially Instagram, at least TikTok. But when I target maybe a platform like Instagram, I'm talking to a few people. So it just when it comes to social media, it depends with your region. And then when it comes to platforms, you can go as crazy as you want. Wherever it is that you see that they're marketing any other thing, I can guarantee you that you can market spoken word there as well. And the best format, which has proven to last the test of time in the times that we are living in, it's short videos. So people want to watch few things, and then of course, yeah, they're going to take what they're going to take from there. Books, unless you target a sector of people that really love reading and would want to read. Otherwise, take your live performances where the live performances are happening. Put your short video formats on the platforms that are happening according to your region, and sell the books to the readers. One such a place, especially for books, that I can recommend is Amazon. You can sell your books there. The second question says creative ways to monetize spoken word. Is
Yes,
that
yes. Creative ways to monetize spoken word, maybe even a podcast with strong spoken word and storytelling elements.
yeah, that question actually even brings the answer towards the end of it, because a podcast is a good way. A
Mhm.
podcast, especially that honors storytelling, is a good way to market spoken word poetry. And I think we have not yet gotten enough of that. I would want to see more platforms that are actually making space for spoken word. Ish, I see pen boy. I'm a fan.
Oh, he's
Funny being
finally
starstruck.
here.
Yeah,
Welcome
yeah.
back.
So a podcast that allows you to market,
Mhm.
perfect initiative, but also go out and interact with people in the real world. The third one, T code.
Okay, so the third one is what marketing strategies would you recommend for promoting a podcast that blends spoken word, storytelling, and cultural discussions? Marketing strategies. Yeah.
Marketing strategies. For now, our biggest marketing strategy is really social media itself.
Mm.
So bring it on social media, and if if it's especially if you're targeting local audience, put it on I don't know if people still watch local TV anymore. But try online ads, do social media campaigns, carry out a proper market research, and check where the other podcasters are doing their things. But also go out in the real world, because I see now even podcasters are getting so creative. They're doing like at events where people are eating, they're drinking and laughing, they're setting up in the corners and people are getting to know about them. So, like they're doing 5 minute, 1 minute interviews and people are learning about them. So you can promote it in such a manner. But utilize social media. It's a beast.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. You've been really helpful in today's meeting and answering all of those questions and dishing these tips. Very, very great to have you. So I hope Emmanuel is satisfied. Well, while Vanessa was speaking, we had Pen Boy join us, one of Africa's most talented spoken word artists. I didn't say so. Their words say so. The accomplishments, right? Everything speaks for Pen Boy. Hi, Pen Boy. How you doing today?
Hi everybody, I'm blushing.
Oh my God, are you in Cameroon?
Yes, I'm in Cameroon. Where else can I be?
Oh, because earlier on, I thought Vanessa was in Zambia or is in Zambia. So she said she's in the US. By the way, she's a fan. She mentioned.
I'm too. I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too, guys. Oh yeah, welcome,
Oh,
Taliabon
thank you.
Alemge. I hope I got your name pronounced correctly.
Yes, strangely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we couldn't have you in the early part of the conversation. We've been talking about branding and marketing as a spoken word
But I was
artist.
following up. I've been following up on the conversation. I don't know what was wrong with my privacy settings.
Oh, wow. Okay, then. So, you know what's going to happen? Because we are almost out of time. Since you've been following, if there are other tips that you think you can share that would spice up all that has been said so far from the fascinating Vanessa, on branding and marketing for spoken word artists, this would be a great time to share. And then we'll talk about your book, which, yeah, we'll be talking about in a jiffy. So Penboy, over to you now.
Okay. Good evening again once more. And I'm happy to be sharing this platform with Vanessa. I've been watching her, as I discovered her online, and ever since then I've been following her work, and especially her journey too, and her personality. I think she has a really amazing personality, and I relate a lot to the stuff she does, and we are actually very connected in many different ways. She talks a lot about justice, value. I'm someone who really believes in that. I believe that we I believe in our identity as a people, as African people, and that's something that I really struggle to propagate through my work, and justice too. As a matter of fact, my career started in 2016 during the start of the Anglophone crisis here in Cameroon. As a matter of fact, the crisis is still going on, and that was what really inspired my journey as a spoken word artist. But one thing I always love to share is that I actually started spoken word without actually knowing what it was. I was just doing something, not knowing it was actually a thing, not knowing that it actually existed. So um, I've always been passionate about writing specifically, but then we come from Africa where value is not given to talent. I used to write a lot throughout elementary school. I used to write some funny stuff, but then it was not a thing. It was not something. Since I used to do it effortlessly, it was not something that I thought that I could ever build a career from. And nobody told me. I had no one to tell me that I could build a career from it. So, fast forwarding, when I got to university, um, I did law. What I've been passionate about was leadership. I was very passionate about leadership. Till today, I'm still very passionate about leadership, but not the kind of leadership where I want to be president or a minister or something like that. But then being in a position of power where I can influence decision makers. So that's why I did law, in order to be a lawyer. and to use that platform to be able to advocate for people who cannot advocate for themselves. But in the course of doing law, I realized that that was a really formal lifestyle. I love the whole thing of being an advocate, but I don't love the career path of being a lawyer. So in the course of all that, I had some personal challenges which really pushed me into looking deep within me. I started asking myself questions: Who am I? And in the course of asking all of these questions, I realized that I was writing a lot of stuff. Then the Anglophone crisis just started in 2016, and I started writing. I became bitter. Just like any young African in any African country that is in crisis, we become very bitter. So I transferred my bitterness into writing. I started speaking against most of the extrajudicial executions that were happening around, the injustice, inequalities, and everything that was happening around the crisis. I started talking about them a lot through my writings. And I knew that it was not enough to write. I started speaking them. So let me say speaking them, because at that time I did not know that performing something that I've written was actually an art form that existed. I didn't know people in the field. I didn't know anybody. I was just doing it because I just wanted to speak. I just wanted to speak. It was not an art form. I just wanted to speak. So I did this for about 1 year. A lot of non-governmental organizations.
Hi, Pen Boy. Welcome back. We apologize for that break. Do I call it a break now? It was just an abrupt close of the Twitter space. I was enjoying your story, very inspiring. And in any case, we're already coming to the end of the meeting, but it was good to hear your side and your perspective to the topic branding and marketing as a spoken word artist. Um, Hopefully, we can still have a few people join, right? But in any case, this has been recorded, so it's okay to have your comments and your contributions on record. So you can as well just continue and share with us your perspective, in a few minutes, and we call this a close. Over to you now.
All right. So I will just go straight to the point. Um, so I was explaining that I started spoken word mostly just for the passion of it. I didn't even know what I was doing. But many years later, I realized that the passion grew into something else, and I realized that this is something I want to spend my entire life doing. I literally gave up everything, every other career path. I had to be a lawyer. I worked with communications company here in Cameroon, and I gave up those jobs just to be able to be a spoken word artist. Now, those decisions, I'm still in my 20s, and making those decisions were really difficult for me because I knew that if I'm becoming a spoken word artist, then there is more. If I'm saying that I want to live my entire life being a spoken word artist, then there is more to it than that. So I have to go out of my way to make sure that this works. So there are a lot of things that I took into consideration. I knew that this is something. I started doing a lot of research, meeting people, talking to people, in order to really understand what it really means to really build a career as an artist, not just a spoken word artist, but an artist generally. So the first thing that has really helped my career so far is branding. Branding is something that I'm very peculiar about. It's something I'm first of all, being someone who has worked in a communications company, I understand the impact that good branding can create for you, for your company, or for you as an artist. So let's look at briefly what branding is. It's a process of developing a unique identity and image for, it could be a product, it could be your company, or for yourself, through consistent themes, messages, visual elements, aiming to create a memorable impression in the minds of customers. So branding has to do with, I think Vanessa explains it better using her story. So branding basically has to do with a particular image that you're struggling to create in the minds of your consumers. This image has to do with your themes. What are the themes that you address through your work? What are the messages? What are the visual elements that you use in communicating these messages? And in order in order to create what are those things that you do, for example, in order to create a strong brand identity for yourself? There's certain things that you have to do. First of all, is establishing and understanding your audience. If you look at people, companies, artists who have built strong brands over time, there are people who understand who their audience are. For example, you know that your audience, if you decide that your messages, you want to build an audience specifically for children, you want your audience to be children, it's going to shape the way you curb your messages and all of those things. So it's very important to identify your audience geographically too. Do you want to just address Africans? Do you want to be able to address the world? Do you want to be able to address just your country? These are things that you should take into consideration when building your brand. Who is your audience? Or who are your audience? So it could geographically, it could be a geographical audience, it could be a group of people, it could be people who identify with a particular thing and all of that. So this is the first thing to consider when building a brand for yourself. The next thing is establish core values. So after understanding who your audience are, you get to establish your core values. Values have to do with beliefs and principles. Vanessa said it clearly. She is someone who advocates for justice. So you know very well that anything that has to do with justice, positive justice, is something that she's going to stand for. So you constantly see her in programs that has to do with justice. You constantly see her talking about justice. You constantly read the stuff she writes, and it's about justice. So these are her values. Her values and principles are around justice, being able to govern people in a just way. So these are things that she believes, and she has after. So this is what you look at after identifying your audience. So the next thing is develop a brand story. I thought, if I heard correctly, I heard people mention this briefly. Developing a brand story. We are living in a context where people are really bored by scientific material, and people want to get stories. People want to know compelling stories. Why are you a spoken word artist? How did you discover that you were a spoken word artist? How did you get here? People want to understand those stories, and not just any kind of stories. Stories that are emotionally compelling, stories that evoke emotions, that make people cry, that make people laugh. These are things that help you build a really strong brand around yourself. After all of those, you define your personality. Personality too is part of branding. What kind of person are you? Are you a jovial? Do you want your personality to be a jovial person? Do you want to look, sophisticated? Do you want to seem playful? Do you want to seem trustworthy? So this is something that you look into. Now, creating a visual identity. This is something I think we all know this one. Create a visual identity for yourself. That has to do with logos, color palette, typographies, and it could even be a dressing style. It could equally be a dressing style. It could be a style in the way you talk, in the way you perform. So create a visual identity that is appealing in such a way that even if someone hears your work somewhere without necessarily hearing your name, they know that this is something that came from you. So after creating a visual identity, you develop a consistent brand voice and style. Especially for artists, this is really important for artists. A brand voice. Your voice should be unique to you. Your style should be unique to you. Style will have to do with the way you dress, the way you appear, the way you look, and all of those things has to do with all of those things. So this is part of branding too. Then engage with your audience. Really important. We are living in a world where people don't really support you. People don't support you if they don't feel connected to you. So create a personality that engages, that is free, that engages with people, that talks with people, and all those is very important too for brand identity. Then conclusively, regularly evaluate your brand performance. So after establishing your audience, establishing your core values, developing your brand stories, defining your personality, creating a visual identity, developing a consistent brand voice and style, engaging with audience, then at the end of it, you should regularly evaluate your brand performance. If something doesn't work for you, it's very okay to change it over time. I mean, we've seen big companies change their logos, change their mottos, change their principles, values, and all of those things. It's very normal. And the honest truth is that art is a business at a certain point. Most of the times, most artists start with passion. Passion is what fuels art, but what sustains art now is entrepreneurship. Every artist should learn how to become an entrepreneur at some point. And if you want to be an entrepreneur at some point, you need to learn how to brand yourself properly. And you can only market. Now let's go down to marketing. You can only market yourself effectively if you've built a strong brand for yourself. Now most people want to market themselves without a brand, which is not very, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You cannot market a product that is not well branded. You are an artist and you are a brand. You are an artist, you are a brand. As a matter of fact, legally speaking, you are a company, you are a legal entity. So, in order for you to be able to market yourself as an artist, you have to establish this brand. Now, marketing is something we all do unconsciously or consciously most of the time. Social media is there. We constantly post about our work. So, this is how you market after you've built a strong brand. Make use of social media. Create social media accounts. I hear some artists say, I'm not a social media person. The honest truth is, we are living in the 21st century and it's a digital world. Everything happens online. Your audience is online. People who enjoy your, people who are willing to buy your work are found online. People who are willing to connect with you are found online. So build a strong social media presence. Struggle to be present on social media. At least we know the basic ones. We know of Facebook, we know of Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Have accounts here. Post about your work regularly. Hype yourself regularly on these accounts. Share your work with people. Secondly, collaborations. Collaborations is really important in marketing for artists. Connect with artists who do similar things, or who share the same values as you. Collaborate with them so that they can share, they can talk about you on their own platforms, you talk about them on your own platforms. Collaborations is really important for marketing. And then join artistic organizations. For spoken word artists, we understand that a lot of organizations don't exist that has to do with spoken word, that in fact, or that promote spoken word arts. Not a lot of them exist. For now in Cameroon, I cannot count up to 5 organizations that promote spoken word. But then when you identify one, join one or create one. Yeah, create one and create that network, build that network. Then the fourth way to market yourself is understanding your target audience and where they congregate. So always know that not everybody is going to be a fan of your work. That is very normal. I think that's very acceptable for artists. I read a quote somewhere where someone was mentioning that artists need to find the courage to remain small. Some artists need to find the courage to remain small. Sometimes being small doesn't mean that you're not doing work. Not everybody is going to relate to your work. If you find a community of 100, 200, 300 people who connect to your work, fine. Grow with those with that number. Grow with that number. Sometimes the desire to scale or to overscale, this ruins our art. It ruins our art. There are always people who are going to connect to your work. Identify them, identify where they are, and build with them. Then content creation. I think we all know this, so I cannot emphasize on this one much. Content creation is like it's something that is top of the list now in terms of marketing, especially for artists. Create content with your work and all of those things. So basically, we've seen what branding is. So marketing cannot exist if you've not had a proper brand identity. So the first thing spoken word artists are supposed to do, and it's really lacking, I really enjoy this conversation because most artists are minimizing these things. Most spoken word artists specifically are minimizing these things. Spoken word artists, one of my biggest dreams is to see spoken word artists on billboards too, topping charts, making millions, building houses and living well from their art. But we cannot get to this level if spoken word artists don't start seeing themselves as brands too. They don't see themselves as brands. Most spoken word artists just do the arts for passion, a hobby. But no, it's more than that. People are living well. Personally, I'm a testimony of that. I'm living well from my art. At least, I'm comfortable. So it's really possible. It's really possible, but it's not, this dream is not feasible if you don't start branding yourself, if you don't identify yourself, first of all, as a brand, if you don't embrace the fact that you are a brand, you are a company, you represent ideas and ideals, then you build a strong brand from yourself using these strategies that I've spoken about. And unless you build a strong brand for yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to market yourself through social media, collaborations, and all those things that I mentioned. Yeah, so basically that is it. Yeah, that is it. So I was just giving some theory. To buttress what Vanessa already explained. She did an amazing job, by the way. So she explains from a really personal perspective. Now I just thought I should really just explain now from a general perspective, so people people can get insight on what branding and marketing really are, and how you can go ahead to achieve all of this.
Wow. This is amazing, Pen Boy. Like, this is a master class in how many minutes? 10, 15 minutes. Very commendable. Thank you for sharing all of this. I was taking notes where you started from understanding your audience, building your brand, right? Understanding your
Yeah.
audience, identifying your core values, your brand story, your visual identity. And then you moved on to entrepreneurship. And then you talked about marketing your products. And you can't market a product that's not a brand. And you talked about networking, content creation. Like, this is so amazing. Thank you so much, Ben Boy.
Welcome.
We don't have time. We would have, dug further, but you shared a lot, and I want to say thank you to not just you, to also Vanessa, who is now a listener. I would have loved to hear your voice once more. If you have any final words before we say this is a wrap, but then back to you, Pen Boy. Any final word of advice? As no, not even just final word. You have a book, so let's wrap it up with you talking about your book, right? That is available on Seller right now. So tell us about it, and yeah, and then we listen to Vanessa.
All right. I wouldn't say it's a book. It's just a leaflet, a
An
guide, a
ebook.
guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a guide for spoken word artists to use, because I realize, I don't know about Nigeria, but here in Cameroon, there are a lot of emerging spoken word artists, young people who are really struggling to grow in the art. And this is an art that, let me say, it's a virgin form of art. It's still really unexploited. There's no root to it yet. So a lot of people are really lost and struggling to find their way and all of those things. So this book is just a guide for starters who really want to build a career in spoken word. So this book basically explores what spoken word is. Most people even confused within it. This book creates a difference between spoken word, slam, written poetry, which most people always find conflicting. uh I think it also talks about how they can monetize their art, how they can monetize spoken words. I shared insights on that too. I also shared insights on how they can be better performers and all of those things. So it's just some tips that can really help them at a really basic level. And the beautiful thing about this leaflet or book is that I really wrote it from personal standpoints, things that have worked for me over the years, and I just decided to share them in this leaflet so that other people can adapt. But then, if you get to come across the book, it's not as if the ideas are final. There are still things that could work for you, which are not necessarily in the book. But then the book is just me sharing what has worked for me over the years, which I think could also help other artists. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Pen Boy. I can't wait to, myself read the ebook, which is available on Seller, I think on APVA's
Yeah.
Seller page. And also you can check our website, apva.africa, to get access to download the PDF or the ebook. It's been a great time. So just before we say our goodbyes, Vanessa, your turn. You started this with some amazing talks. So I want to hear your final words before we close.
I think there is really nothing from my side. It's just been amazing to listen to Penboy, and from all the experiences, the knowledge that he's amassed through his journey, and to relate to his stories a lot, because like when I hear him talk about starting this whole thing from being angry at the system and just knowing that the power that you have is in your words, I can relate with everything. And yeah, it was seriously a masterclass. I'm so happy I came back and I've enjoyed it. And thank you so much, Appa, for the platform. Yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing your time with us. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone that has been a part of tonight's X space, from APVA hosting us, right? Gracie also being at the back end, to Vivian, Emmanuel, who asked the question, and every other person that was here. I remember Gladys, and a couple of people like that. I want to say a big thank you to all of you. And this is where we call it a wrap today on this month's edition of Hangout with APVA. Next month, we'll have another edition, and it's a space for us to discuss how to move forward as spoken word artists, voiceover artists, and podcasters. My name is Tolulope Kolade, but you call me T Code. I'm a voiceover artist, spoken word. No, not a spoken word. I'm a podcaster. You guys are already influencing me. I'm a I'm a I'm a voiceover artist, a podcaster. I host a couple of podcasts like the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective. And also, if you're familiar with Shots by APVA, that's APVA's short podcast. Um, I host that as well, and I'm also a voiceover coach. So it's been a pleasure hosting this tonight. And I would only say everybody here follow everybody. That's one of the ways that we can continue to build networks. So if you're not following anybody here, follow everybody, just like I'm following everybody. Thank you guys for your time, and it's a bye from me here in Nigeria. Bye bye, everybody. Cheers.
Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the episode. Become a member of APVA today. Visit apva.africa to learn more.